Halloween at Disney parks is generally focused on the cute and family-friendly aspect, but that's not the case for the overseas park, especially Hong Kong Disneyland. The first Halloween event at Hong Kong Disneyland was Disney's Halloween in 2006. Since then, the park celebrated the holiday every year, each year adding more and more ways to celebrate. But the number one difference between Halloween celebrations in Hong Kong Disneyland and the other Disney parks are the haunted mazes. So let's check out every haunted maze that Hong Kong Disneyland has come up with. Main Street Haunted Hotel. Main Street Haunted Hotel was the first haunted maze. It opened in 2007 and it was located in Main Street, USA. This was a thrilling walkthrough attraction with living haunts and specters appearing around every corner and hallway inside the hotel. The attraction took many unused early Haunted Mansion concepts like the Haunted Building on Main Street, USA, a walkthrough attraction, a corpse in the bathtub, and also some used ones like the Murderous Ghost Bride, some changing portraits, or a piano playing by itself. The hotel was filled with eye-opening scene settings, audio, theatrical effects, and spooky show direction. It told the story of Victoria Maxwell, a ghost who is still haunting the halls and has been searching for more fresh victims ever since 1889. This attraction came back every year until 2011 when it closed to make way for another maze. Demon Jungle. Following the success of the Main Street Haunted Hotel, Demon Jungle came to Hong Kong Disneyland in 2008. Located in Adventureland, this exclusive walkthrough attraction featured living haunts and specters appearing in every corner. Here, treasure-seeking tomb-raiding explorers made their camp on a sacred burial ground. This, of course, enraged the demons below, who decided to seek vengeance on all those who enter. The idea of this attraction was that guests, using all their willpower, were able to escape the jungle, but finding the exit was a challenge. This attraction was very popular among guests, but just as the Main Street Haunted Hotel, it closed in 2010 to be replaced by another attraction. The Revenge of the Headless Horseman. In 2011, the Revenge of the Headless Horseman was open where Demon Jungle used to be. Here, a member of an adventurers club claimed to have found the head of the fabled Headless Horseman and decided to prevent it in a sideshow exhibit. And this obviously provoked the Headless Horseman's wrath. So everything goes horribly wrong when the Headless Horseman takes umbrage at all the other carnival acts. There's even a nod to Madame Leota in a scene where the Headless Horseman smashes a crystal ball to leave its floating head gasping for life. This attraction was very popular, so it became a recurring attraction during the Halloween time until it closed in 2014. Grades Academy. Grades Academy opened in 2012. The premise here was that Principal Grades at Graves Academy was recruiting students and turning them into evil creatures trapped in the rooms. Guests walked through the demented boarding school, from classrooms where students were threatened not to speak or else face grave consequences, to a horrifying cafeteria kitchen. Outside was a statue of Graves Academy founder Alistair Graves, which would occasionally come to life with a turning head and glowing eyes. This was a pretty scary attraction, and a fan favorite, so it came back in 2013 and 2014. The Nightmare Experiment. In 2016, there was a new maze. It was called the Nightmare Experiment, and it was located where the Revenge of the Headless Horseman used to be. This maze had a whole new concept in which the darkest side of Disney was shown. In this maze, guests enter the office of Professor J.T. Wu, head of the Nightmare Experiment project. The professor announced that he had found a portal into an unknown dreamscape that will transport guests into some of Disney's most nightmarish realms, and the guests were to be used as test subjects to see what they can find in the realm. First, we enter the Louisiana Bayou, where Dr. Facilier is hosting a voodoo performance. The small hut is filled with various voodoo artifacts and tribal masks hanged on the walls. At the center of the room is a small stage where Dr. Facilier struts about, welcoming guests to his show and telling him he will introduce them to his friends. Then, a faithless voodoo demon comes in and makes Dr. Facilier disappear. Then, guests entered a dimly lit cell block within Fort Charles Prison from Pirates of the Caribbean. This cell block features the skeletal remains of a single pirate in each cell, with skeletons being haunted and jumping out at guests, roaring and shaking the bars of the cells. We arrived into another realm, Sid Phillips' room, where we could find Sid's mutant toys. Here, the toys came to life, jumping and greeting guests. The last realm is by far the creepiest. We enter an asylum within the Red Queen's castle in Underland. Here, the White Rabbit guides us to a padded cell where the Mad Hatter, banging the windows, stares at the guests. Inside the cell is a tea party, and various headless stuffed toys are seated in the chairs. One of the guests is randomly selected and allowed inside the padded cell. The guest is seated at the head of the table, and the Mad Hatter serves them tea and ties a red scarf around their necks. Here's where it gets weird. The Hatter yells that he can hear voices whispering to him. Announcing that the voices say that the guest would look wonderful without a head, he picks up the knife and prepares to decapitate the guest. Thankfully, curtains close over the windows as the room turns an ominous red and alarm bells start ringing. The last scene is not another world, but the internal workings of the laboratory. Here guests could see on a screen the villains Professor Wu has observed, like the Witch, Chernabog, Shan Yu, Ursula, Shere Khan, and more. Before the guests can see more, the door swings open and Wu's assistant rushes in, yelling that the guests need to exit quickly as a fire has broken out due to machinery overheating. This maze ran only during Halloween time in 2016. Maze of Madness, the Nightmare Experiment continues. In 2017, the Nightmare Experiment continued as Maze of Madness, the Nightmare Experiment continues, now located where Graves Academy used to be. A year after the original Nightmare Experiment, the police have arrested Professor Wu for making the project, but Wu got lost after entering another unknown dreamscape. So now his assistant has found a portal to find the professor. He wonders if the professor is not a devil in disguise, before sending the guests again into other worlds. The first place the portal took guests was Stromboli's caravan. Before entering, a clown who is working for Stromboli welcomes guests to see the show. The small hut is filled with decaying puppets on the walls. At the center of the room is a small stage where miserable Pinocchio, locked in chains, has become a performing slave. He tries to ask guests for help, but the clown stops him and tells them to go into the next room. Guests entered Monsters Inc. Scare Floor, where the CDA tells them to get into Boo's door. But before the alarm starts to sound, guests hear Roz's voice and tells the CDA that humans have appeared in Monstropolis, and that she is always watching them. Once the CDA finds them, they lead the humans to the next room. This room took guests back to Underland, this time to the Mad Hatter's shop where the Hatter and the White Rabbit are waiting. The scene was almost the same as the Underland scene in Nightmare Experiment. A guest was selected to go inside the shop, but the Hatter seats them in his chair and puts a hat on their head. But then he yells the voices are whispering to him, again saying the guests would look wonderful without a head, so he picks up a knife to decapitate them. Curtains close and the alarm bells start ringing. Later, guests are transported into Beast's castle and hear the Enchantress's voice, narrating the prologue of the story. Suddenly, a suit of armor comes alive and tells them to find the enchanted rose before the last petal falls, but it was too late, and the armor had become completely inanimate. Journey to Halloween Town. Last but not least, we have Journey to Halloween Town. This maze is now where the original Nightmare Experiment was located. The maze was created because of the film's 25th anniversary celebration, and it is amazing. Here guests can walk through a magically recreated Halloween Town. We can find the giant mausoleum, glowing fountain, and central hub welcoming everyone into the town. The zombie band serenades new arrivals as the mayor, in his official hearse, drives in to say hello. Next, we go into Dr. Finkelstein's laboratory, where Sally is preparing a special treat. She asks guests to help her add the final ingredients before Dr. Finkelstein wheels in. Guests are then rushed out and taken into the town hall to meet Jack, where he gives his speech. As guests exit the town hall, they find themselves face to face with Lock, Shock, and Barrel, who have a prisoner that asks for help. Then guests enter Oogie Boogie's lair, where he is tormenting another prisoner. Jack arrives to save the day, and just like that, the maze is over. This maze is far less creepy than the mazes before it, but it definitely looks amazing. What do you think of Hong Kong's haunted mazes? Would you want something similar in the US parks? Let us know in the comments. If you like the channel, check out our online store, where we have lots of products with cool designs, like these, Follow the link in the description, and also be sure to check us out on Instagram for a behind the scenes look on FastPass Facts. See you next time!